This episode of The Havery Show is being brought to you by Heartland Tax and Accounting, 863-385-5020. The following program is rated PG and may contain language and material that may be slightly offensive to some audiences.
Go.
Bobbie Graham has been a precious part of our family for 30 years. She has been a mother to Harry and I. She has been a grandma to our kids. And now she is working on a book collection for our great-grands. And she just is loving to us all. She is a Christian example to me as a servant, serving in the prison ministry. She helps mothers who just had babies. She's worked in the preschool. She cooked for years, over 100 meals on Wednesday for our church. I just don't know anybody who's a bigger servant than her. And we just love her and appreciate her every day. I love Bobbie Graham.
This is a blind reaction video, so you are going to react to these two words that I'm about to tell you. Are you ready? Sure. Bobbie Graham.
You react. Awesome, great friend. Wonderful, wonderful testimony for the Lord.
You're getting emotional, Yetta.
She's precious too.
She's a wonderful lady. Thank you. So, Kathy, this is what we call a blind reaction video. So I'm going to tell you two words, and you're just going to speak from your heart and tell me what you think about what I'm about to say. Ready?
Okay.
Bobbie Graham.
Bobbie. Oh, she is my hero, an inspiration. She has been a steady follower of Jesus all of her life. She pours into others. I'm so grateful for Bobbie Graham and that she was in our church. And I'm gonna cry. You're making me cry. Love you, Bobbie Graham.
Trent, what are your thoughts on Bobbie Graham?
Oh, Bobbie, where do I start? She's a fantastic individual, loves the Lord. I admire her passion for other people. You know, she's willing to do anything for anybody. Just her positive attitude, her positive outlook. She's treated me well over the years, and just every conversation I've had, I always feel inspired to be the best I can be after leaving talking to her.
So, anyway, you know it's true because she know about it. She know about it. And where was I?
Well, you had just shoved her in the garbage can and
Yeah.
you moved along.
Yeah. So, anyway.
You found him at the apartment.
Mm-hmm.
And
Trash day
He was in
apartment.
the bed and he had the food and you've ruined the apartment.
So her mother threatened to take me to court. I said, well, go right ahead. So she didn't do it. Somebody told me she did go down there and sign some kind of papers to have me come to court, but it never did go through. I never went to court for that. And so I figured I need to get away from that block, because that block was just like a country street. Everything. Everybody knew you and all that kind of stuff. So, and they knew me pretty well because I was always keeping something going. Then my mother opened a restaurant on that same street. And in my aunt's building, she had a 2-story. So she rented the basement like Father Divine had to my mother. And she had a fish and chips place. And she sold fish and chips and lemon meringue pie and sweet potato pie. And she would stay open till the nights when the nightclubs and the dance halls stayed open, would close down. And she'd get all those customers, they'd come for the fish and chips and sweet potato pie and lemon meringue pie. And then she used to do orders for pies and There's some of them, a slice of pie wasn't enough. They want the whole pie. So she would do that. And then when my aunt, I don't know what happened with that building, but anyway, she moved out of there and she got a hot dog wagon. Across the street in like a little storage area for the building we lived in that was street level. And she had the snow cones. Remember snow cones?
Oh, yeah.
She did snow cones and hot dogs. And everybody just be aligned sometime. She did a good business wherever she went. And then my stepdad bought her, well, he bought a station wagon. Remember them station wagon with the wood?
Mm-hmm.
And she went downtown in the Jewish section where they sold all the restaurant equipment, and she bought a steam table that fit right on the back of that the tailgate. Yeah. And so then she got some kind of way, I don't know how she did it, but the guys that worked at the cemeteries, and factories, she got her schedule, and she could make 3 or 4 of them lunchtimes every day. And she would cook food, and she would go there. My mom was a hustler.
Yeah.
She really was. And so then after that, well, she did that while we were in Long Island, too. And then what happened in Long Island? Well, that's when my brother and them come into their crazy hood. And he started messing with drugs. And me and Tom broke up. He stayed in New York, but he helped us get the place in Long Island. And then it was a mother-daughter thing. I had the upstairs, she had the downstairs. And then I just felt like I needed my own place because I had all of the kids. But she used to help me with the children. And they listened to her. She didn't have no trouble, except with Rolly and Delcy. They used to run away every once in a while. And that was right down the street to an empty lot. So when she found out where they were going, she would make them a lunch. And they would go down there and eat the lunch and then come back, time for dinner. So they had a nice nice childhood out there. It was nice, but I was running from the drugs in New York. And because Rodney had started with him. And I didn't want my daughter and Victor. I didn't want my daughter Barbara and Victor. We call her Peanut.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't want Peanut and Victor to get in on it. And Rodney was a handful. And I remember one night, my mother called me. She said, "Come over here." I lived in Freeport. And the place we lived at was Floral Park, right next to the racetrack. And she said, "Your brother making trouble." So I got in the car. I said, "Anthony, he going to bed." I said, "Get up. We got to go to Grandma Rodney." So he rode with me over there, and Rodney was acting up. And I forget what he did. I don't know what he did that night. But when he saw me, he started running. And I started chasing him. And I had a big stick in my hand. And up on the turnpike near the racetrack, they had those little police booths for night policemen. And he was running past the police booth. He said, "Help! She's going to kill me. Help!" And the police told me to stop, but I kept going. So they got in the car. They ran me down. And then they ran him down. And they put me in the car. And they was putting him in the car, and he was begging them not to put him back there with me because he thought I would still get to beat him up. But they took us back home and gave us a good talking to, because I told them I didn't even live there. I lived in Freeport. And so he went to bed. And then the next incident my aunt from down here, she used to come up there every summer for a couple of weeks to visit my mom, because by then my grandma was gone. And she said they were sitting there looking at the TV. Rodney rushed in there and snatched the TV out the plug and out the door with the television. And it was a car waiting out there with some guys in it. So my mother yelled for my stepdad. He got up and he ran out there, and they told him either the television or him. So they was going to take him out say he owe us money. And so my stepdad said, well, how much do he owe you? And whatever they told, he said, I got it. So just give us the television back and let him go. And so he came in the house and went in his stash and took out the money and gave it to him. And my aunt said she never saw nothing like that in her life. She was ready to leave and come back home right then. So that was another one of the incidents. So anyway, my mother would call me all times of night. She'd be sick, and she would call me, come over here. I'm not going to stay in this house another night with this man. Come and get me. And I would go over there and get her, bring her to my house. I'd be at work. I was nursing then, and I was working at the county facility for like a nursing home, but it was run by the county. And the kids would call me and say, Mama, you got to come home. Grandma talking about walking back to Avon, back to Flora Park. I said, you know she can't walk to Flora Park. She can't hardly walk to the driveway. He said, well, we can't. She talking about leaving. I said, well, just try to hold her there, lock the door, and I'll be home in the morning because I was working the night shift. So the next day I go home. She said, I want to go home. I said, okay. And I'd take her home. And that would happen maybe once or twice a month. And when I'd get there with her, he'd be standing on the porch. I don't know what's wrong with Miss Cole. I treat her like a princess, and I don't know what's wrong with her. And she said, shut up with your lying self. You know you lying. You don't treat nobody. And we'd take her in the house and get her in the bed and everything. And then it'll be all right for a while. And then we'd be back to square one. So anyway, time marched on, and he moved. Let me see what happened then. Oh, when I moved to Freeport, then my daughter got messed up with the drugs, Peanut. And they had gangs out there like the mafia almost, you know. They would come and shoot up your house and everything. And I thought moving to Long Island was going to get me out of that, because they did all of that. They used to throw you off the roof in New York, you know, if you owed them money and couldn't pay it, and beat you up so bad. So I didn't want that to happen to them. And my fighting days was going slowly. I didn't want to fight no more. I didn't want to fight no more. So I decided I was going to chill. And I don't know what happened, but one day I just went off in a fog. I just left this earth. Nobody could talk to me. I wasn't blinking my eyes. I wasn't doing. And my mother called an ambulance, and they took me out to Meadowbrook Hospital. That was a big hospital on the island. And when I opened my eyes again, I looked back like this, and I saw these bars on the window, and I didn't know where I was. And then a nurse or somebody, or attendant came in, and they said, oh, you wake, Sleeping Beauty. I remember that, because they must have gave me something to put me to sleep. And she said, put your shoes on, them, take you down the hall. The doctor wants to talk to you. And he said I did some kind of hypnotism to myself. And I just went in another place. And I don't remember nothing that happened during that time except me waking up in that place. And I started saying to myself then, I got to get away from here. I got to do something else because I'm going to die here or I'm going to kill somebody here. Because I kept threatening those people that was coming by the house and blowing the horn for my daughter to come out. And they were bad people, and it wouldn't have took much for them to get rid of me. So, and then she had met a fellow named Earl, and she had a baby for him. And then she had another little baby, and that baby died a crib death right there in the house. He was all right when we put him to bed, and the next morning she went to pick him up, and he was dead. So I thought that would have straightened her out, but it just made it worse. She didn't know where to go with that, so she just kept on with the drugs. So she met another guy, and he was like a counselor, and they started being friends. And he got a job in Detroit at a counseling center or hospital or something. And she told her dad, she said, I want to move to Detroit so I can get myself straightened out. So he gave her the moving money, and she left. She went to Detroit, and she got saved. She started going to a church, and she got saved. But then she found out that she had, what's the name of the disease? She had that bad disease. And they said she was going to die. But she didn't die right away. She got a good job with a accounting firm. She worked there a long time, several years. And then it caught up with her, that disease. I'll think of the name of it after a while. Caught up with her. But she made some really good friends there. And I went a couple of times to Detroit to be with her. And then the last time I went, she was in the hospital. And she didn't make it from there. Nope, that's wrong. She did make it from there, and she came home. But she didn't want to leave, and I had to come back. And that's when I was started living in this apartment. And she came. She called me, and she also called her dad. And she asked, would it be all right with him if she came and stayed with me while she was sick? And he said, wherever you want to go, I'll help you get there. So she came here. She was in that room over there. And we got a hospital bed. She brought a cat with her. That big cat you see up there on that Abigail cat weighed 28 pounds. It's a big old cat. And then I started taking her to the clinic. And she got a nice doctor from there, and they would send a nurse out sometime to check on her. And the last time, she got real sick, and they took her out there to walk her. And she didn't make it out of there. And I remember, you remember Mr. Garner? Was a principal
What school?
for Avon Elementary.
Nope, that was before our time.
Okay, Mr. Garner and his wife, he was in the room across the hall, and he was dying. And me and his wife used to sit on the floor in between the two rooms and hold hands and pray. And my daughter had already signed the papers that she didn't want to be resuscitated. And two ladies from SIM used to come and sit with me out there the couple of days she lasted. And they stayed with me practically all day, and they left at night. And Eugene would come, and then she died. And the nurse came in, and she went and jumped on the bed and pulled the covers back, and she was gonna mash it, what you call it, in her chest. And I said, no, 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 leave her alone. She don't want that. She don't want that. And I just sat there on the floor by the bed until my mom came out there and took me home. And we had her funeral. And all those people from Detroit showed up here.
Wow.
Some of them even stayed across the street in that house. Some stayed in hotels. But she had a beautiful, beautiful service.
This episode of The Havery Show is being brought to you by Heartland Tax and Accounting, 863-385-5020. The following program is rated PG and may contain language and material that may be slightly offensive to some audiences.
Miss Bobbie Graham, beautiful, kind-hearted, sweet, caring, loving, a mentor, an encourager, a singer, a mother, a grandmother, a friend, a friend. She is all of that and above. I just love you so much. Be encouraged. Know that you got a friend in me. Great is thy faithfulness. Keep being faithful. Keep looking up to the hills. Keep saying something encouraging yourself, knowing that it's okay. God is good. I appreciate God for putting a friend like you in my life. I love you. Be encouraged. Andrea Mathis. Talk to you later. Tell them. You have to tell all the people that I'm your favorite child. She gonna get. Now you have to make the statement that I am your favorite child.
Whatever she says.
I love you, Mom.
Victor went to Vietnam.
I'm going to move this a little bit because Victor going to Vietnam sounds like quite a story.
Well, he was scared because he didn't like to fight. He didn't like violence at all. He used to have girlfriends that used to slap him in the face and everything, and he wouldn't do nothing. He'd just try to back off. But then he had a wife that he left up there in New York and 2 kids. And we took the kids in the summer, and we took them other times because their mother, she went wacko because she met somebody and they didn't want her, and she had a baby for him. And so she just kind of acted crazy, and somebody called Tom from the court and said that she had mistreated the children. She had put them in a closet and told them don't come out till she come back. And they got the kids, and then they start calling around the family members and see who could take the kids because they didn't want to put them in a home. And Anthony and Tom, my Anthony, my son, they went to court and they got the children, and they sent them down here to my mother. And they went to school down Lake Placid for a while because Victor was working down there at the school at the time. And they stayed a long time. And then one Mother's Day, we gave her a trip to come down and visit them. And they cried and cried over each other. And she said she wanted to take them back and she was going to behave. And she took them back with her that year. So we kept them a couple of years. So just one thing after another. Just one thing after another. And then my stepfather died. And then my brother went to prison. And I went to a revival over at the black church one night. The girl was working that I was working with, she was going. And I asked about the time and the place and all that. And I went to that revival. And Lord just spoke to me. And I left out of there because they had a line to go up and be prayed for. So I just went on outside and got in my car. And I was getting ready to light a cigarette. And every time I tell this story, it gets more real to me. I had the cigarette up, getting ready to light it. And I said, Lord, what am I going to do? Rodney's in prison. My mother's sick in bed. He said, I turned around and looked in the back seat because I thought somebody was back there. I heard a voice just as clear as I'm talking to you. It said, you take care of you, and I'll take care of Rodney. And it wasn't too long after that, Rodney told us that he had received the Lord in jail. And me and my mother were so happy. But all that time, I think I visited just about every jail in Florida, every institution, all the way up there to, where's that place? Forget the name of it. But the state penitentiary, he was in there. He was in the state mental institution up there. Where was that?
Not Stark.
Huh?
Stark?
Stark. He was in Stark. And the mental institution was, where was that now? But I know every Friday when I got from work, my mother would be packed up, sitting on the sidewalk in front of her house, waiting for me to come and take her up there to that mental institution to visit with Rodney for the weekend. And we did that for I don't know how long. But he was really serious about being saved. And when he got out, he stayed that way. Mm-hmm. And he went up there to that college up the road there. He went there and got his degree. And then he got in service with Robert Shannon and his church. Yeah. And he followed the Lord. And I did too. And then I found out about a Bible study that they were having over in one of the girls' house in town. And the girl that was working with me, she told me. I said, well, ask. The girl was Diane Smith. Did you know Diane Smith?
Maybe. She
had 2 sons, and I think they played ball or something. But anyway, she said, yeah, tell her she welcome to come. Was at her house, the Bible study. And when I went to the Bible study, that was Eugene and Yetta and Diane and Donna. Yeah. And those people, they embraced me and they took my hand, and they have not turned it loose to this day. To this day. When my mother died, right there in her house, in her mobile home, she had one of the double wides. Yeah. My stepfather came down in. They went together and purchased it, and he bought the land when he came one year, and he got it all set up, but they didn't. He used to just come back and forth because he loved New York. He loved it up there. And I had to go back to bury him because it was nobody but one sister up there, and she didn't know what to do. You heard of Mariah Carey?
Oh, yeah.
That was her grandmother.
Really?
Mm-hmm. And me and Aunt Addie, we was going back and forth to the hospital to see about Ed, because he was, and he didn't, we went one day, and by the time we got back to Brooklyn to her house, they called up maybe an hour later and said he had passed. So I had to stay up there and make the arrangements for his funeral. And then when my mother and those wanted to come, Eugene had a station wagon of some kind, I forget. But he loaned his station wagon to my family to drive up there and bring my mother to the funeral. Isn't that something?
Yeah. Good man.
And I remember that Sunday when she passed on the Sunday. And I went that Sunday morning to get her ready, because I go every morning and get her washed up and change her bed and give her breakfast and her medicine. And she had just got back. I think she was down to about 2 pills because the doctor had on a lot of stuff. And every morning she'll take her finger. That finger was so funny. She'll push one away. She said, I'm not taking this one anymore. And then another time I go and she look at the little tray with the pills. She said, I'm not taking this one anymore. So finally she was down to like 2 pills. And I was telling doctor about it. He said, she don't want to take it. She don't need to take it. And she passed. And I was sitting there in the chair at the foot of the bed with my head down. And I felt somebody touch me on my back. And I looked up and it was Eugene. He was down on his knees in front of me. And I remember my mother, if Paul Church or another little girl that was riding the ambulance, if they didn't come and get her, she refused to go. And we was talking one day not too long ago when Paul was waiting for Donna to come and go home. And Lil Kay, that was that girl's name. That was, what was the man name that had the Undertaker and the black Undertaker in Sebring? You remember? J.B. Kearney.
Yes.
That was their daughter. She rode ambulance too. And they came. I think it was Paul that came with another guy because she wasn't working that day. And they took my mom. And then I found out some years later that she had pancreatic cancer. And she begged the doctor not to tell me because she wasn't going to do anything about it. She just let it go at that.
This episode of The Havery Show is being brought to you by Heartland Tax and Accounting, 863-385-5020.
So, all I can say is the Lord brought me to this little dusty corner of the earth, and that's where He want me to be when He take me home. And I'm enjoying every second of it. Because I got to meet you guys. Got to meet George and Marcia and Clara and Elaine and Donna and all those sweet people at SIM. I asked them, could I be an honorary member, but they said no. Because I wanted to go live out there. I like how they live out there. I said, no, you got to be a missionary to come out here. And Ruth Webb, she went with me to the jail for years and years. Then Donna Whitten, she went for a long time till she passed.
How many years did you put in at the prison?
I went in 1974, and I just quit after COVID.
Yeah.
Right. As soon as COVID was over a little bit, I was finished. And who was Donna Whitten and Donna Welch from SIM. So, and me and Jean Playfair, we had the CEF clubs.
So to the prison, you did Bible study. You did ministry to the women
Yeah.
in the jail, at Highlands County Jail.
Yeah, just the females.
Yes.
And I didn't know but one Bible verse. I went with that. For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son. Whosoever believeth in him should not perish, but have everlasting life. That's the only verse I knew. And I carried that up there. And I see ladies right now. In fact, I saw a lady not too long ago at the voting place. She was working at the voting. And she said, I couldn't really see her face because she was sitting at a back table. And I was at the front. She said, Miss Bobbie, Miss Bobbie. And she hollered out. I looked back there. I said, yeah, hi. She said, I didn't go back. I didn't go back. I tell them all not to come back. And I don't know. Remember the lady used to be the librarian at Avon Elementary.
You remember? I can't remember off the top of my head.
I know her name too, but her daughter got in there. And she was on medication. And she was, you know how they could put the medicine in their mouth and don't swallow it. She was saving up her pills. She was going to take them all at one time. And the night she was going to take them, the next day was the day I would be going up there. And she told me after she come up to the railing, because I couldn't go in there inside. I was on the catwalk, and they were behind the bars. And she said, Miss Bobbie, I was going to kill myself, but I thought about how would that make you feel. And that just gave me a bigger boost to keep going. So, and I see a lot of them now. They still remember me. Say they didn't go back no more. Yeah. And I look at the paper to see if they've been back too. Because you know they put it in the paper.
Oh, yeah.
None of them been back. So, here I am at Bible Fellowship from the beginning when we was going to the SIM and having prayer meeting out there in their little reception hall. And I think we went to, what's the guy name? Him and his wife, she do the signing sometime. He was with the children's thing up there by the high school.
Wait, you were not talking about the Harshmans.
No.
This is after that or before? This is before the Harshmans?
Yeah. We used to go to do Bible study at their house,
Yes.
too.
And then to the high school.
Yeah.
Then to Sebring High.
This other guy, he go to church there now.
You talking about Kevin Roberts?
Roberts,
Yes.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. We went to his place. Then, trying to see, we went somewhere else. We used to go to different people's houses. And then we start going to the high school. And my dad would go with them. My stepdad would go with me to church on Sunday when he came. But they used to have donuts and coffee.
Yes.
And he would be patiently waiting for the break when he could get his donuts and coffee. So that's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
The Havery Show has been brought to you by Heartland Tax and Accounting, 863-385-5020.